Okay. All right. Okay. So yes, the assignment is due today. Some of you have submitted. Okay. Some of you may be still struggling. So just submit it today to me via email. All right. I will check. Okay. If you still have any questions about the assignment, we can discuss after we finish the lecture. Okay. So our lecture today shouldn't be too long because we're just going to finish on critical cultural. Okay, I hope you remember we already discussed about critical theory. Okay. All right. Now, can you see the slides? Everyone can see the slide?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right. So critical cultural trend, okay, I'm not going to go in detail again, critical theory. I hope you are already aware. I'm just going to go into the main points, okay. Actually, personally also, I think this critical cultural trend is my own favorite theory lah. Okay, my own favorite category. Because unlike normal positivist theory that's trying to be objective, this theory, as we have already learned, okay, it takes sides. It's already biased because it openly, like it is explained here, espouses certain values. Okay, and I think especially in academic research, all right, we cannot be too objective because then what's the purpose, right? If we don't try to make change, okay? But of course, when you want to do your own research and when you are choosing a theory, it really depends on what you want to find out and what is your research objectives, okay? So like we've already discussed in the last class, you should already understand what we mean by critical theory. And it's really important, okay, to understand it within its context, okay? Where did it originate from? It originated from Karl Marx, okay? So that's why if we are able to understand the context, okay, we can see it's actually this opposition between communist ideas, socialist ideas, and capitalist ideas, okay? So we've already discussed theories, post-positivist theories. So post-positivist theories that are scientific are mostly capitalist, adopts capitalistic ideas. Okay, it focuses on the function of the media. On the other hand, okay, this critical theory, because it originates from Marx, okay, it sees capitalism as a problem. All right. So we've already discussed this critical theory. Okay, the unique characteristics of this theory is that it espouses certain values. It is biased. Okay, it's not an objective theory. And when you enter this research using critical theory, okay, you already have an intention to change something. You already feel that something is a problematic. Okay, and the main idea for this theory is that it wants to criticize the status quo. Now, traditional critical theory, okay, Marxist theory is very simple. To them, the status quo is capitalism. Okay, status quo is structure elitism. Okay, or any entity that tries to what we call it monopolize in terms of politics and economy. All right, so that is status quo to them. But today, as critical theory is being used in many areas in social science, okay, status quo has changed its meaning, all right? It's not just for the capitalist. It's anyone, any entity, any group that holds the power, okay, that has the, what we call it, privilege in terms of the power relations. Okay, for example, okay, feminist or feminist study, feminism is part of critical theory. Okay, why is it considered critical theory? Because feminism espouses certain values. They know, okay, that their intention is to overcome the biasness of patriarchy, men, okay, masculinity. So status quo in that sense for feminism is masculinity. Okay, so you understand here the nature of status quo is dynamic. It's not just with regard to white people or Americans, okay? Because when I discuss these theories, I always use the American media as the example because American media is the status quo when we talk about media industries, okay? So we've already discussed this as well, transmissional and ritual perspective. This is very important for you to differentiate, okay, and understand, okay, between critical theory and cultural theory. Okay, so today we're going to go into cultural theories. Both critical and cultural theories, okay, espouses values. Okay, that means when they start a particular research, they are already biased towards a certain thing. All right, and both are trying to change the status quo. The main difference is how they see the influence, okay, or how the power is asserted to the powerless. Transmissional perspectives, okay, especially with regard to communication, they see all this information, messages are direct, okay, and it's just for the purpose of control. That means any communication process is used by the status quo to control us. And it sees, okay, the audiences or the public as quite passive because the message is transmissional. We get the message, okay, but we are unable to decipher, or we are unable to dynamically what we call this as adjust, okay, with the messages. On the other hand, when we talk about ritual perspectives, okay, here the concept of the communication process is more fluid, okay, because communication is not just message sender to receiver. Okay, actually, to this perspective, communication is a representation of shared belief. That means, okay, communication is a process where the message can be produced, can be maintained, can be changed, can be transformed. Okay, that means it is not static. Okay, so when you understand this, okay, then you will see the differences between, like we discussed just now, critical and cultural theory. All right. So we've already discussed political economy. We've already discussed Marxist theory. All right. So we've discussed the introduction of culture. All right. Here, cultural theory. Okay. When did it start to come about? Okay. During and after the Second World War. All right, because now you see the ideas of new theorists, okay, from Germany. Okay, these German theorists, okay, when they came into the academia, they brought with them the idea of Marxism. Okay, they agree, okay, that the media industries are being controlled by the American, especially. Okay, but through their observation, they realize, okay, the control is, okay, the status quo maintain their power not really just via politics and economy. Okay, they argue that the most powerful way is that these status quo, okay, are able to control the masses because they use culture. That the change, okay, or that the force that they bring, okay, is asserted through culture. And so, what is culture? Culture is something that you can't really have one definition because culture is almost everything, okay? Our routine, our practices, our lifestyle, okay? So I've already discussed this hegemonic culture, right? So hegemonic culture is the culture imposed from above, okay, that serves the interests of those in the dominant social position. Okay, I've already discussed many of these examples, okay, especially when we talk about globalization. Globalization brings a lot of hegemonic culture, like drinking coffee, okay, drinking brewed imported coffee. Okay, the problem with hegemonic culture is that we tend to adopt, okay, the culture that maintains the status quo. By drinking the Starbucks coffee, we compromise our own local coffee. Okay, and in that way, we also maintain the status quo because we continually believe that the Western products are better than ours. And in that way also, we continue to contribute to their economy. Okay, so this is an example of hegemonic culture. Right? So I've already discussed this also, okay? Frankfurt School, like I said just now, these two are the German theorists, okay, that brought culture into the ideas of critical theories, okay? Because they believe, okay, hegemony also comes through cultural industries, where all of the products, okay, that are being sold today, okay, are actually selling to us a certain type of culture. That when we drink coffee or when we buy or wear a certain kind of fashionable clothes, okay, it's not just that we are buying the product, we are buying the values and the cultures that come with that product. Okay, and unfortunately again, the cultures and values that comes with those products are usually not ours and are usually maintaining the status quo. Okay, so far can follow, all right? That is just a very short summary to bring you from critical theory to cultural theory. You can see that it's actually a progression, all right? Okay, there is no specific, it's not really two different theories. Okay, critical theory and cultural theory is not two different theories. They are basically what we call it siblings. Okay, they have the same parents, they have same ideas, but okay, critical theory has progressed into cultural theory, right? So cultural theories that we use today in media and communication studies, okay, are mostly inherited from the British cultural studies. Okay, what's the difference between the Germans, okay, the Frankfurt School here that we discussed, and the British cultural studies? Okay, here the Frankfurt School are neo-Marxist. Neo-Marxist means, okay, they still strongly believe that there needs to be some kind of a revolutionary change. Okay, they still adopt the idea of political economy. Okay, they still think, okay, that power relations is in terms of politics and economics. That this culture is really going to affect, okay, the everyday people. What they see, neo-Marxist is still somewhat transmissional perspective, because they believe, okay, yes, the Westerners, the Americans especially, are controlling the world by selling us culture, okay, hegemonic culture through cultural industries. So again, okay, the process of influencing or controlling, okay, and maintaining the status quo is via transmissional. Okay, so it still sees audiences and public as quite passive, right? On the other hand, these British cultural studies, okay, they still also adopt the idea of cultural critical ideas, in the sense that yes, they still espouse certain values. They still see that there is a problem, okay, with this world that we live in. There is a problem with the status quo. There is a problem because somebody or some entity, some group wants to control another group. Okay, but the main difference is that these British cultural studies, okay, they are the what we call as the most 100% cultural. Okay, they focus on culture. They believe that message and communication is a ritual process. That yes, okay, the status quo can try to influence us, but at the same time, because messages, okay, or information can be maintained, can be produced, because it is ritual, okay, people understand things differently, that there is a way, okay, for everyday people to go against the status quo. And it does not have to be via revolution. Can follow so far what we mean here? Remember, we said that in critical studies, okay, they are very extreme. Okay, they believe there is a problem, they say there must be a change, and it's via revolution. Okay, revolution means there must be abrupt change. Somebody must tell the status quo this is not acceptable. Okay, on the other hand, the cultural studies, okay, they don't see change via revolution. They see change via everyday culture. For example here, the term is culture is ordinary. Okay, culture is ordinary. Culture is not something, okay, that you see as changing from A to B in a split second. It goes through a certain process. And most of these processes, okay, you comes through your everyday life, changes in your everyday life. Okay, like the adoption of Starbucks coffee I mentioned. Okay, like the adoption of Starbucks coffee. You don't change your taste in one day. Okay, it is through your everyday life. Okay, it is through your experience with your friends. It is through your the way that you see how other people change their lives. Okay, the way they drink coffee. So it's not really abrupt, okay? It is done through the ordinary, which is through your everyday life practices. So far can understand? All right. So through these British cultural studies, okay, instead of seeing the media especially as a as a medium being used for control, that's how critical studies see the media. They see the media as an agent of control. Okay, an agent of control. The status quo use the media to control people. Okay, on the other hand, British cultural studies, okay, they see the media as a pluralistic public forum. Okay, so pluralistic public forum is the idea that the media may provide a place where the power of dominant elites can be challenged. Okay, how can the power of the dominant elite be challenged by the media? Okay, so if we want to compare with critical studies, okay, we can say, for example, Netflix is the status quo. And Netflix represents the American power. Netflix represents the Western culture. All right? So is Netflix powerful? Yes. Is Netflix controlling the global media industries? Yes. Okay. Is Netflix changing our culture? Also yes. Because we are changing the way we watch content. Okay, we are binging. Watching a particular program 2 days straight. So all of that is a change in our own personal culture. And according to critical theory, this is helping Netflix maintain the status quo. How do we, as the audiences, help Netflix maintain their status quo? Because we continue to continue to buy their products, and we continue to feel that Netflix programs are much better than our own local programs. Okay, that we like to watch all these Western series, our children, for example. Okay, but here, okay, in this pluralistic public forum, okay, the British cultural studies say, you know, these audiences, okay, they have with them their own values. Yes, they are watching Netflix. But when they are watching Netflix, okay, the Muslims, okay, or the non-Muslims, the Africans, the Asians, okay, the Europeans, they all have different values, they all have different cultures and different lifestyle. Yes, they are all watching the same content, but they have different interpretations, okay, and they have different tastes, okay. And now one of the very famous programs on Netflix is that Turkish drama, okay. Any of you watch it? Ertuğrul, okay, is a very long series, okay. So that series, okay, is available on Netflix, and it is very long. But okay, how is it having a program, a Turkish drama series, can make Netflix a pluralistic public forum? Here, okay, I'm trying to give you an example. You have this Turkish drama series depicting Islamic history. Okay, so it's a drama about Islam. It is a drama featuring Turkish people. It is a drama produced by the Turkish media industries. It is not an American drama. It does not talk about American lives. Now, you see this, okay, that despite this control of Western content, despite this control of American-owned programs in Netflix, you have this drama series. Okay? So this drama series, Turkish drama series, very popular and being watched by mostly Muslim viewers. So when this drama series becomes popular, okay, it has slowly challenged the American status quo. How has it challenged the American status quo? Because now Netflix realized, we have a group of audiences that demands for Muslim content, for a different type of content. So instead of portraying only American products, they now have to adopt, okay, local Muslim Islamic Islamic programs. And when that happens, then Netflix is no longer just a Western media, it can be a pluralistic public forum because now it offers alternatives. Can you understand what I'm trying to say so far? Okay. Here it is saying that yes, status quo can be challenged. Okay, status quo can be challenged, but it's not via revolution. You can challenge through your own culture, through your own ordinary practices. Okay, when you are on Netflix, but you choose to watch the Turkish Islamic drama over the American drama, you are somehow challenging the status quo in your own very normal, very small way. Okay, so if the 2 or 3 million Muslim subscribers demand Netflix for more Islamic content, then Netflix will have to abide for that to that demands. So in that sense, again, the status quo has been challenged. All right. Okay. So these are what we mean by culture is ordinary. Culture is ordinary. That ordinary people can also challenge the status quo. Okay. So when you take this view, you are taking the culturalist view, because according to this view, via culture is the site of social struggle and a place where change can occur. Okay, that means this is completely opposite of the critical view that says it's all about power and control. In this view, they say where culture is not just being used for control, culture is a place where things can change. All right. Okay. So we've already discussed via the example of the Black Lives Matter issues. All right. If we were to take critical studies, then we can understand why the African Americans or the blacks are being discriminated by the system. Okay, but according to that theory, the only way to change is there has to be a revolution. Okay, how can the revolution occur? Maybe through what we call it demonstrations, maybe through the change of government. Okay, maybe through even what we call it where they go to the streets, and demand for change. Okay, that is revolution. But if we were to take the cultural approach, the culturalist view, we can also see that this Black Lives Matter issue, why is it happening now? Because there has been changes in the way people perceive the blacks and their rights throughout these years. Okay, that has led to this major change or this demand today. Okay, what I'm trying to say is, for example, that now more people are aware, of the systemic discriminations against black people. Okay, how have they become aware? Okay, because they have, through their everyday lives, experience, probably watching media, watching stories that feature the black hero, or that feature a story that features a black man as a good father, or a film that features a black woman as being successful. So what happens here? When you see this type of films that is representative, so there will be a change in perception of the audiences. If all this while, the audiences were being shown of films or news about the blacks as being criminals, as being less educated, if we were to take the Marxist theory, they say this is how most people have a very discriminative and biased views against the black people. Because in the news, you read that the blacks are criminals. or that in the news you see or in the TV programs that you watch, you will see that the black are being presented as less educated. Okay, but now when you watch TV programs and you get to see more images of black people as everyday people. Okay, you also see drama series that portray the black man as a good father. Okay, you see also drama series that portray a black woman as a successful doctor. Okay, so in this situation, the audiences are able to conceive the idea of the black man as not just criminals, but also, like them, a good father and ambitious woman. Can you understand? So when audiences are being exposed to these images, they are able to conceive ideas, new ideas, and accept, okay, the black man, okay, the African Americans are just like the white people also. They are good people, they are good parents, they are ambitious. So these changes can occur in the perception of the audiences via ordinary cultures, not via revolution. Can you follow or not so far? Okay, so I tried to give you an example of how black images, our own perception, okay, of the African Americans, how it can change via everyday culture, not via revolution. Okay, so this is what we mean by culture is ordinary. Okay, that these changes happen in our everyday lives. Okay, it doesn't have to occur via revolution. You follow? All right. Okay. So British cultural studies are popular for their audience reception studies, that receptions method. That means, okay, when they want to study the influence of media, okay, instead of looking at the big picture, okay, instead of looking at governments or media organizations, they look at the audiences themselves. Okay, I hope you can see this difference. Okay, because in critical theory, they look at the big picture. Okay, they blame the government. Status quo are government, status quo are rich people, status quo are organizations. Okay, so they blame all these entities. So this is what they study. On the other hand, culturalists, okay, or cultural theorists, because they believe, okay, that culture is the place of struggle, they don't look or they don't study the organizations, they study the audiences. Because to them, okay, it's through the experiences of the audiences or the public that the changes occur. So an example of a very popular cultural study, also a feminist study, is a book called Reading the Romance, written by Janice Redway. So Janice Redway is a culturalist, a feminist, okay, but once you are a culturalist, you are also part of the critical, okay. So she wrote this book based on her research on women, patriarchy, and popular literature. Now, patriarchy means what? Okay, a feminists who are all against patriarchy, that means the superiority of men or male over women. Okay, patriarchy. So, reading romance novels. Okay, I'm not sure how many of you like to read romance novel. You know romance novel? Okay, it's usually being stereotyped that mostly women would read romance novel. Okay, so critical theories, okay, most people will stereotype women who read romance novel as weak, okay, because they like to imagine things, okay. Women who likes to read romance are very, what we call it, easily influenced, okay. Weak because you would assume, or they are less intellectual because they like to read romance. When you compare to a woman, for example, who read academic books, okay, because you would assume that men don't read romance, women read romance. So it's usually stereotyped that women who read romance novels are mostly subjugated, are very weak, typical woman lah. Okay, so Redway would like to see whether this is true or not. Okay, because taking a culturalist view, she believes to understand how the women really are really affected by these novels, you must ask the woman. You must live with them, not just ask. You must observe how they live. Okay, because we want to see the culture, right? Remember, now we are observing their everyday lives, their everyday culture, how it is affected by this romance novel. So she lived with most of these women, and these women are all mostly homemakers. Okay, they stay at home, okay, they take care of their children, and in their free time, they read romance novels. So what did she find out? Okay, so Redway says, popular literature, like reading the romance novel, okay, does not just mean that it's a bad thing for these women. It's not just making these women imagine things. Okay, because through her observation, she found that these women, who read romance novel, they usually are connected. Okay, they are connected with other women who have the same hobby. So by reading this novel, it's more than just reading the content. It's also the practice of reading that novel. It allows these women to communicate with other women who are like them. Okay, of course lah, they talk about romance novel, but it's okay. Why? Because it allowed these women some kind of communication with other women. Instead of being at home on their own, taking care of children, they found a common interest with other women that allowed them to communicate. And some of these women even created book clubs. Okay, you know what are book clubs? Okay, so book clubs are when people who like to read, they organize themselves, create a group, and they do a discussion. Okay, so these women create book clubs. So it showed that these women, instead of just imagining about this hero, the romantic hero in the novels, they are becoming empowered in the sense that now when they are with other women, they have built a community. And when these women have their own community, they have some kind of more power. Power in the sense, they are able to share their problems. Power in the sense that when they are together, they become more confident. And in that way, they are challenging the status quo. They are challenging the notion that women who read romance novels are weak. Can you understand? That reading this novel has helped them challenge the idea of them being weak. Because through these romance novels, they are able to build their own community. Okay? So far can understand? So this is what culturalists are trying to show us. That in our practice of everyday lives, in general, we are not weak. We will find a way to adopt, and adapt, and also challenge, even in a very small way, challenge the status quo. Okay, so when, for example, these women have become communities, they can even influence the publishers to write only stories that they like. That means they have the power, to control and also to demand. Okay, I am not sure. I hope you understand, what I'm trying to tell you. That what is the notion or the fundamentals of cultural views. The culturalist view. That in this culturalist view, changes occur through everyday life. Because again, to it, the term is culture is ordinary. Okay, so here I gave you the image of Stuart Hall. So why is Stuart Hall a very important figure? Because Stuart Hall is a Jamaican. He's an African. Okay, so he brought with him ideas of his own life experiences. Okay, because it was not easy for him to be a black man, in academia. And this was in the 60s. Okay, I can't remember. I think he went to Oxford or one of the very prestigious university. So him, with his background, being a Jamaican, all right, having to work, okay, together with all these white privileged scholars, okay, to him, this is an example of how culture and everyday life can change the status quo. How did he change the status quo? He did not revolt against the white or the universities. But what he did was showing that even a Jamaican, okay, even a black person, can be a very respectable academician or a scholar, okay, through his own everyday life practices. By becoming a good academician, by challenging the ideas that black people are not scholars. Can you follow? All right. So this is what I mean, okay, that usually the theory is always influenced by the theorists and their life experiences. Okay, so this is Stuart Hall. And this is an example of feminist studies, okay? But Raymond Williams was actually the first guy that introduced the idea of British cultural studies, okay? So what are the strengths of British cultural studies? It asserts value to popular culture. That means, okay, it's okay to watch Netflix. It's okay to like to read novels. It's okay to like Starbucks. Because according to this perspective, okay, that there are values to all of this popular culture. Okay, although it may appear that this popular culture are usually maintaining the status quo, because usually popular culture are cultures of the West, for example, there are ways, there are values that can be taken from these cultures that can basically benefit, okay, the indigenous or our own traditional cultures. Okay, and you understand assert value, like we mentioned just now, reading romance novel. Okay, it may sound very, what we call it, boring, okay, very stereotypical of homemakers. Okay, but okay, when we do the study, we find that there are values. Okay, and this perspective empowers common people. Okay, like we discussed just now. Okay, the common people, the minorities. Okay, like Stuart Hall, like women reading romance novels, or like the Turkish drama series in the Netflix catalog. All right. So when these common people, okay, are able to even share and introduce their cultures and values, okay, they are empowered. So these cultural studies values pluralism and egalitarianism. Pluralism, okay. That means, okay, it's not like critical theories that assumes, okay, everything is bad. Okay, pluralism in the sense, okay, this perspective, okay, acknowledges, okay, that different groups of people have different interests, okay, and they might be able, okay, to make use of different types of media content to their own benefit. It does not mean that every time you watch an American program that you are being, what we call it, controlled by the Americans, okay? So they develop audience reception research. What is this audience reception research? Like I mentioned just now, okay? With this reading the romance, for example, instead of researching the what we call it, the organizations, or researching the status quo, you research the audiences. You research those people who are experiencing, okay, the media, consuming the media, okay? But what are the weaknesses of cultural studies? Okay, it is still too political because it is still a part of critical studies. It is still criticizing the status quo. For example, here, okay, Janice Redway, although she says that these women are what we call it, are empowered by the romance by the novels that they read. Okay, it is still trying to criticize, okay, through this study how patriarchy often view women. Okay, so the main point of her study here is actually she wants to show, okay, that when women likes to read novel, it doesn't mean that they are weak. That is just how women like to spend their time, and it doesn't mean that men who reads news articles or men that reads, for example, academic textbooks are better than women. Okay. So it typically relies on qualitative research, okay? But okay, it can also overlook the subtle, indirect ways that elites control media and audience reception. Okay, because they tend to study, okay, to look at the culture, okay, they tend to look at the ordinary aspects, okay, of control. Okay, they are being criticized, especially by the critical studies, for not really taking a stand. Okay. In the sense that, for example, when women read romance novel, yes, you can say they are empowered, they have a community, but again, still, who produces these novels? Are usually the rich white man who still is going to make money from all of these women. Okay? So far can follow, right? Okay? So critical and cultural perspectives can be used today to theorize media technologies. Okay, it's very important today because most of our research today has to do with media technologies, the changing in the media landscape. Okay, very modern. Okay, so one of the term when we want to study media technology is we must know what it means when we say technological determinist. Okay. Technological determinist is a person who believes that all social, political, and economic and cultural change is inevitably based on the development and diffusion of technology. Okay? So here, okay, if you are those who believe, okay, that the influence or the power relation that is happening in the world today or the changes that is happening, especially with regard to media influence, is due to internet, for example, or due to the development of new media, you are considered a technological determinist because you believe it is the technology, okay, that is making changes in our everyday life. Can you understand so far? A technological determinist. Okay. For example, you always hear the word, okay, or look at how, okay, the internet has changed young people. Okay, or look how internet has changed, okay, our mode of the way we live our everyday life. Okay, so if we make that kind of statement, we are a technological determinist. Okay, because we believe that technology determines things. Okay, but okay, when we take a critical approach, okay, we would say that the technology today is actually very biased. Okay, we believe that the technology is further helping the status quo because there is the bias of communication. So what is this bias of communication? Okay, it is the idea of Harold Innis. Okay, the guy, the theorist, okay, who came up with the idea. Okay, his name is Harold Innis. Okay, he believes that communication technology makes centralization of power inevitable. Okay, now how does this relate with the critical theory? Okay, remember critical theory talks about status quo. So here now you have taken a technological determinist view. You say that the main way the elites or the status quo maintain their power is because of technology. It's the communication technology that allows the Americans to stay in power. Because technology, okay, although you think technology is a thing, okay, it's just an objective machine, okay, it actually has its own biasness. Okay, how can technology be biased? Like today, when we talk about the social media, okay, the social media was created by the Americans. Okay, and it brings with it its American culture, the media itself, right? Okay, Facebook, Twitter, okay, Instagram. Okay, you can see it as an inanimated thing. That means it has no lives. Okay, it is just an object, but this object itself has values. How? Okay, like Facebook. Facebook is a social media platform. What does it make us do? Why are you on Facebook? Because you want to share. What do you want to share? Everything. And you share your photos, and then you share your videos, and then you share your statuses. Okay. Now, in nature, okay, this idea of sharing, okay, this idea of very having open communication is a Western value. Okay. Usually, I'm not saying overall, okay, 100%, but usually, okay, Eastern Muslim cultures are very timid, okay, because we are asked to be more modest, right? It is the Muslim culture to be modest. But on Facebook, you cannot be modest. Okay, if you want to have a lot of friends, for example, you need to share. You need to tell people everything. So Facebook in itself is already biased towards our culture. It is making us less modest. Can you understand what I'm saying? For example, having an Instagram account. What is it for? To share our photos. Okay? But when we share our photos, we want it to be liked. Okay? And we always share most our best photos. Okay? We share when we take pictures of the food, right? Okay, I'm not saying everyone here, but most people. Okay? They will share photos of the food that they eat, right? But they will only share food that are expensive. Okay? Or the food that is very, not your typical local food. Okay? So you will not be modest when you share the photo of the food that you eat. Okay? Or the clothes that you wear, or the places that you go. You want to always share things, okay, that will elevate your status. So in this sense, the social media itself is already biased towards a culture that is not ours. Can you follow what I'm saying? Okay, so far? So when we continue to share, all right, on Instagram, okay, we have to always wear our best clothes or eat the best food. Okay, in the sense also Instagram, okay, and the social media with all of its advertisements, okay, it's making advertising much easier, okay, is supporting the status quo. It is helping what? It is helping us buy more stuff. Just like watching television, using the Facebook, using Instagram is making us buy and buy and buy. Understand? All right? So there is this bias in this technology. Okay, and even now we don't just talk about the particular technology. We talk about those who owns and creates the technology. Okay, who owns and creates the technology? The Westerners, the Americans. Now we are all using Google, and we are very dependent on Google. Okay, can we not see that Google is very powerful? Okay, and that Google has the ability to control the way we think, to control the way we share our information, and Google is now changing the way we see the world. So in that sense, again, technology here is the main reason why there is this, what we call it, the maintenance of the Western status quo. Okay? So this is what we mean by bias of communication. When we see technology as the reason for status quo maintenance, we are taking what we call as the technological, we are the technological determinist. So far can follow? I hope you understand why we're discussing this under the critical cultural theory. Okay? So we give an example like global village. Alright? I'm sure all of you have heard of this term, global village. Okay? You know what's a village like? Okay, most of us are urbanites already. Okay? But a village where everybody knows everyone else. Okay? A village where we all eat the same thing. We share the food. We share taste. We share language. We share culture. Okay? Now, today we see the world as a global village. Now, this is the idea of McLuhan, Marshall McLuhan. So there is even a perspective called McLuhanism. So McLuhanism, okay, the idea is similar to technological determinism. So Marshall McLuhan, he believes that technology is the cause of change for everything in this world. Okay, and one of the things that he prophesied, okay, McLuhan, okay, he was a popular scholar in the 60s. So in the 60s, before the internet, before the social media, he has already predicted that the world, okay, he has theorized that the world will become a global village. What is a global village? What is a global village? Like I mentioned just now, right? A village where everyone is almost the same. We know everyone else. We look almost the same. Okay? But now, the world that we live in, okay, although we still have almost 200 countries all over the world, with 100 over languages, we are becoming more and more the same. You agree or not? Okay? How are we becoming more the same? For example, again, the food that we eat. Okay? Do we all eat pizza? Do you get pizza in Indonesia? Do you get Pizza Hut in Africa or in Bangladesh? A Bangladeshi would know how to eat pizza wherever he goes. So most of us, although we have our own local culture, we have adopted the global culture. So we have become just like everyone else. Can you understand? That everyone in this world is becoming the same because we are starting to eat the same food. We all eat McDonald's. So that's why McDonald's is called a global conglomerate or a global organization, because it is available everywhere. And nowadays, we all tend to look the same because we dress the same way. Yes, the Muslims would have her hijab, but she would still be wearing the same denim jeans, the same sneakers, the same shirt as the Americans. We all listen to the same song. We all watch the same movies, isn't it? So we are becoming more like a village. Can you follow? Okay, that the world that we live in is becoming a village because we are becoming the same. Can you follow or not? So what has allowed this to happen? Technology. Okay, technology is so sophisticated today, okay, that McDonald's can open all its branches all over the world and serve the same burgers, okay, because they use a very sophisticated technology. Okay, and they can use, okay, today, of course, when we talk about the internet and the social media, then we get access to the same fashion, the same media content. That our children, okay, are growing up watching mostly the same TV series. They are all watching Disney, they are all watching YouTube, and they are all speaking English. So we are becoming, according to McLuhan, a global village because we are all the same. So what is the problem with living in a global village? If we were to take the critical or the culturalist view, Okay, what would be the problem here, global village? Who can share? Huh? What would be the problem? What would be the criticism against global village? Remember the notion, the idea here is that everybody is almost the same. And of course, you can say there's the positive side, or now it's easier for us to communicate. Okay, we can access to one another. But what would be the main criticism? Who can give me the answer? What would be the main criticism? If you understand critical theory, there is only one main criticism. What is the main criticism of critical theory? Come on. Anybody can try. Huh? Emmeline? Alice?
We lost our own culture.
Yes, we lose our own culture. That's one. Okay? All right. What else? What happens when we lose our own culture? You are almost there, Emmeline. That's a good answer. Okay? What is the main idea, the main criticism of critical theory? When we lose our culture, what happens? What happens, Abdul Aziz or Alia?
We become like the status quo, like status quo. We follow.
Yes, very good. Very good, Alia. That is the answer. We maintain the status quo. That's the term you always have to remember with critical theory. Critical theory. Okay, they always criticize because to them, everything at the end of the day maintains the status quo. When we compromise our culture, like Emmeline says, we maintain the status quo. We have become a global village, but unfortunately, this village is not ours. This global village is biased. This global village is Western village. Because what makes us the same is the Western food, the Western fashion, the Western media content. Can you follow? So if you take this idea of technological determinism, we criticize because we say it is a technology that's making this global village. Okay? And this global village helps status quo. It helps McDonald's. Instead of McDonald's just selling burgers to the white people, now it's so easy for McDonald's to reach the global audiences, the global market, the global consumers. Because we are all one village to McDonald's. So McDonald's, the American company, will continue to be the status quo, will continue to contribute to the American economy. And your children, my children, will continue to prefer to eat McDonald's over their local or their traditional food. So this is the problem with global village. Okay? All right? And another idea that is brought by McLuhan is the medium is the message. Okay, so this theory is very important. What do we mean by the medium is the message? So when we take the technological determinist perspective, okay, we also see that it's not just the content. All this while, when we talk about influence, we talk about content, media content, isn't it? Right? Or the American content, the Western content, okay? But actually, according to McLuhan, it's not the message anymore. It's not the content anymore. It is the medium that is changing things. That means it's the particular machine or the particular media. It is social media. It is not what is written in social media that's really changing us. It is the media itself. Okay? Now, it is McLuhan's idea that new forms of media transform our experience of ourselves and our society, and this influence is ultimately more important than the content of specific messages. Okay, so read this. Is the form, media form, not media content. Okay, social media, I gave you an example just now when we talk about bias of communication. It is social media, the form, that is changing us, not really the content. The form, like Instagram. Okay, I gave you an example. In the type, what does Instagram, okay, what is the purpose? For us to share images, share visuals. So has Instagram changed our life and culture? Yes, because you have this platform that shares images. And now you see everywhere people take photo before they eat. Okay, you take photo before you eat, Abdul Aziz, to share? Huh? You've seen people take photo before they eat? Why have they changed, right? Okay, people take photo before they eat. Okay, people take photo on their own, selfies, right? It used to be, okay, traditionally it would be embarrassing to take your own photo. But now it has become normal. People go around, take their photo, snap their own photo. Okay, so it has changed our lives. Not really the content, it is because the medium and the form itself. Can you follow? All right, and this medium has made us become more narcissistic. You know, narcissists, right? We become more aware of ourselves. Or I need to share what my best photos, best images. We are very consumed with ourselves. So who do we blame? So according to this theory, it is not really the content, it's the medium. The medium is the message. Can you follow or not what I'm trying to say? Because we're taking the technological determinist view. So we want to look at the media form, not the media content. Okay? So I give you an example, okay, how to understand what we mean by the medium is the message. Okay? When you want to, okay, for my undergraduate class, I can use this example lah. You people are probably more matured and would find this example very silly. But if I ask my students, okay, how do you break up with your girlfriend or boyfriend? Okay, how do you break up with your girlfriend or boyfriend? Emmeline, you have boyfriend? If you break up, okay, some people they say, oh, break up with via telephone. Or you can break up via WhatsApp, you message the person. Or you break up with your girlfriend face to face. Okay, you go and see and discuss. Or you can just break up with your friend via, for example, what we call it, a phone call. So there are 4 different ways to break up with the same person. You can email her, you can text her, you can go see her, or you can, what we call it, call her via phone. Okay? Which approach would you take, Alice? How would you break up with your girlfriend?
No girlfriend, madam.
What? Face to face?
No girlfriend.
No girlfriend. Okay. It's okay if you have.
Face to
Alright.
face.
No girlfriend, break up already. Face to face, okay? Just say you try to do face to face. Now, all of these 4 approaches, 4 mediums, 4 forms of communication are sending the same message, right? The content is the same. The content is you want to break up. But although the content is breaking up, does it give the same message? I don't think so. Why? Because if Alice breaks up only via text, it would give a different meaning to that girl if he were to tell her face to face or compared to when he tells her via email. Isn't it true? Right, okay? If Alice breaks up with a girl via text, saying it's over, what kind of a message would it give to the girl? She would probably think, oh, Alice is such a jerk, okay? Or probably, okay, this is telling her that Alice is thinking that this relationship has no value at all because it's just breaking up via text. But if Alice were to do it face to face, probably, okay, it would mean that Alice is a more sensitive guy, okay, that the girl, for example, that the relationship will probably have meant more to them, that the girl has a chance to respond. Can you understand what I'm saying? That in all these four situations, the content is still the same, breaking up a relationship. But the choice of form or the choice of medium that you use influences the meaning of the message. Okay? So today, most of our communication processes occur via technology and online. Okay? So the meaning of most of our communication processes have changed. Can you follow so far? All right? Okay? So another idea brought by McLuhan, okay, is that technology has become the extensions of man. Now, you have to see the power of his theories because all of these theories were developed in the 60s. But now, in the year 2020, we experience what he has theorized. Okay? Our mobile phone, our smartphones have become an extension of ourselves, isn't it? Okay? How has the mobile phone become an extension? Because it has allowed us to see things, to hear things beyond our normal ability. Okay? The mobile phone, your smartphone, all right, basically controls your life, right? It wakes you up for prayers. Okay? It tells you, okay, if you have eaten too much, for example. It reminds you to call your mother. Okay? And you are using applications today that are helping you live a better life, okay? Like having Waze, okay? What we call it, the satellite application. Okay, it allows you to predict your journey. So technology has extended your sight, hearing, touch to time and space. And what has this made you? It has made you become more dependent on technology. So technology again, in this sense, determines your everyday life. Okay? What would happen to you if your mobile phone, okay, if you lost your mobile phone? Okay? It's okay, right, to lose a friend, but never lose a mobile phone. Okay? Because once you lose your mobile phone, most people, I'm not saying all people, but most people, common people, will be very lost, okay, without their smartphones, because their everyday lives is now dependent on the smart technology. So far can understand, right? Okay. So here, this is McLuhan. Okay, he says the medium is the message. Just now I've already explained to you. This is to say that the personal and the social consequences of any medium that is of any extensions of ourselves result from the new skill that is introduced into our affairs by each extension of ourselves or by any new technology. So he's basically saying here, okay, that our everyday lives, okay, is being changed by the technology. Okay, so it is the technology that is changing, okay, our perspectives, okay, of the world that we live in. Okay. So what is the strength of McLuhanism or technological determinism? It is comprehensive. Okay, because McLuhan has already told us, okay, about all of these ideas, global village, very comprehensive, talking about the medium and how it influences everyday lives and how it influences the world. Okay, and it is macroscopic. Macro means look at the big picture, just like any critical theory. Okay, now McLuhanism is not entirely critical. Okay, you can be a technological determinist because you agree that technology is very important. It doesn't mean that you need to be critical, right? But most of the time, okay, it is the critical theories that takes this theory, okay, and use it to criticize the status quo. It resonated with the general public in the 60s and 70s, okay, because this is when he started, where he introduced his ideas, okay. It elevates cultural value of popular media content, okay, and it anticipates a future in which media plays a central role in fostering community. Okay, we've already discussed this. Okay, through the culturalist view, okay, through McLuhan's view, global village is a good thing, it's a positive thing. But we can take a critical view like we've discussed just now, and we will see that global village is really just maintaining the status quo. Okay? And this theory enjoys longevity, that means it is still very valid today because of new electronic media. But what is the weakness? Okay, it can't be verified with effects research because it's macroscopic. Okay? It's overly optimistic about technology's influence. It ignores important effects issues. Okay, and all of these, all right, here are basically criticism against culturalist view. Okay, because all right, McLuhan is quite positive of technology. So the critical theorists would argue, okay, what are you going? What is your opinion? How would you answer? Okay, the ways in which technology has further helped maintain the status quo. All right, so we've come to the last slide here. Okay, here, all right, this is actually, I'm just trying to help summarize the idea for you. This is not a legit, okay, 100% credible categorization, because the idea of critical and cultural is very mixed. Okay, they are very what we call it dynamic. They are continuously changing and they influence one another. But here I'm just trying to show you, okay, to give you a basic idea of how to understand and differentiate between, okay, critical and cultural theories. Okay, so you have here Karl Marx. Okay, so the main idea of critical theory comes from Marxist, Karl Marx. But why do I put him here? Because in social science, we acknowledge that the critical theory is the main idea. Okay, because we want to detach specifically from the idea of traditional Marxism, because traditional Marxism is a communist, what we call it, paradigm. So we call it critical theory because we are only taking Marxist ideas, but we are not adopting the communist paradigm. Okay. So critical theory here, which is the umbrella category, okay, can be using ritual or transmissional perspective. If you take the transmissional perspective, you see that the media or communication technologies are mediums or forms that are being used to assert power or to maintain the status quo. It's a medium of control, communication process. Okay, so that how is the control? Okay, through Marxist. So Marxist talks about structure, superstructure. Okay, so they talk about all these different ways of how, okay, the status quo, and Marxists especially in relation to capitalism, maintains the status quo. They maintain the status quo via politics. They maintain the status quo via economy and technology. Can you understand? On the other hand, okay, you have the ritual perspectives that see communication as a dynamic process where messages or culture can be maintained and changed. Okay, so in these perspectives, okay, it is still critical because it still believes that the media especially is sending some kind of status, is trying to maintain the status quo. But through ritual perspective, okay, we acknowledge that audiences have the ability to challenge the status quo because the media is not a medium of control. The media is a pluralistic public forum. Okay? So you can have the idea of neo-Marxism. Neo-Marxism says that the control is not just via politics and economy. The control comes from hegemonic culture. Okay? And this control, okay, But hegemonic culture is still quite extreme in the sense that it talks about, okay, how audiences is rather passive. Okay, but with British cultural studies, okay, they introduce the ideas, okay, that culture is ordinary, that in, that in everyday life, okay, that people can challenge the status quo. How do they challenge the status quo? Okay, by small practices, okay, in their everyday lives. For example, okay, like we've already discussed, reading romance novels, watching Turkish drama series, okay, are slowly challenging the status quo. And another example, although we didn't discuss this in detail, is feminism. Okay, feminism, okay, is challenging the patriarchy, the status quo. But okay, they argue, okay, that these changes or this status quo can be challenged. Okay. Now, like I said just now, I'm just trying to help you better understand. But you must realize, okay, this is not a strong categorization because, okay, critical and cultural theories, they are of the same DNA. Okay, like feminism, it is cultural, but it is also critical. Okay, so most of feminist theories are cultural theories. Okay, they say that there must be changes in women's everyday lives, but there are also critical or radical feminists that wants revolution. Okay, so those are considered, they can be considered quite Marxist. Okay, and the idea of technological determinism. Okay, we can take a critical approach and see technology as the root of all these controls and the maintenance of status quo. But at the same time, we can also consider it part of culturalist view, okay, where we can say, hey, within technology, people are still able to challenge the status quo. Okay, yes, you have Facebook making the Muslims not modest anymore. But at the same time, you have Muslims using Facebook to what we call it, disseminate for dakwah. Okay, so those Muslims are challenging the status quo. All right. I hope you are clear and you are able to differentiate between critical and cultural theory. All right. Okay, so we've discussed positivist theory, we've discussed normative theory, we've discussed critical and culturalist theory. That means we've already discussed all the main categories in social science. Okay, so you must be able to differentiate between these types of these categories, all right? Because after this, we're just going to go discuss different examples of theories. Okay, all right, any questions? Or any questions with regard to the assignment? So the assignment is due today, all right? So you have to email your assignments to me. Okay, I will WhatsApp you my email address, shafizan@iium.edu.my. Some of you have submitted, most of you have not. Okay, so just submit your assignments today. Okay, it should be easy for you, all right? So, but if you have a problem, okay, we can discuss it. Anybody have any question with regard to the course, to the assignment? Anyone? So we'll just go around the screen, okay, before we finish. All right, Alice, anything? Everything okay?
Okay, madam. Inshallah.
All right, okay. Abdul Aziz, everything okay?
Yeah, except that I'm still working on my assignment, but hopefully by the end of the day, I will send it, inshallah.
Okay, all right. Alia? Okay, Alia?
I'm okay, miss.
All right. Emmeline? Are you okay, Emmeline? You still there?
Yes, madam. Everything's okay.
How's your assignment?
Excuse me? Sorry?
Assignment.
Yeah, everything is okay. I finished.
All right. Good. Jamal, everything okay? Any questions?
I resubmitted already the assignment.
Okay.
Okay, I WhatsApp to you as well the screenshot. Hopefully you can give me the feedback whether you have received it or not, or else I have to resubmit or I have
Alright,
to
it's
come and
okay.
see you personally.
Okay, I just checked. You already submit twice. Okay, I've got two.
Yeah.
Alright.
Okay. And another question is about the second assignment.
Mm-hmm.
The second assignment is no longer about the systemic review, systematic review.
No, the second assignment is actually just the first two chapters of your proposal. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Probably some of you are taking research methods and you're probably doing your own proposal at the moment. So I just want the first two based on the systemic literature review. That means
Based on this.
I want to see how you include all your 10 articles inside your literature review and even in your introduction chapter.
Okay. All right. Okay.
So I
All
hope it's not a hard or problem, what we call it, burden. It's not a burden because I hope it relates to your other courses as well. Okay?
All right.
No
Okay.
need methodology. All right? Okay, Shaira.
Okay. Thanks.
Yes? Shaira, okay?
Inshallah, okay. Better.
Masum? Masum? Yeah?
Yes, yes, ma'am. Okay,
Okay, I hope all of you can handle your assignment.
inshallah.
If you are working at the last minute, I still don't see any problem for you to complete. You just have to find 10 articles and put it inside the template. 10 different articles. Okay? All right. If that is it, okay, I will see you next week. Okay, and then hope to get your assignment by today. All right, we end the class with tasbih kafarah and what else?